This is the Lug Nuts Podcast.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right, we're back. Well, happy continuing winter. I guess the Groundhog.
Oh yeah, what happened with that?
It's supposed to be in early spring. I can't remember what that means. If they
Not here. It's not looking like that here.
No, I think that Groundhog is on crack.
That Groundhog is not. He's not right.
Yeah, I think he's old. He's getting a little senile.
He's very fat.
Super fat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's still winter. I mean, it is serious winter.
Depths of winter here. in
More
Utah.
so than we've seen in several years.
Yeah, I'm liking it. You're not so much, but I'm digging the snow. So
I like it, but I'm a little over it. Fortunately, a couple weeks ago, you were able to go to the Utah Auto Expo, which, for our listeners, is not it's not a full on car show like the Detroit Auto Show or the Chicago Auto Show. I believe it's sponsored by Motor Trend. And so there's some manufacturers there. There's some local, dealers and things like that. They do test drives and stuff. So I wasn't able to go, but you were. What were some trends? What were some things that sort of caught your eye there?
I guess in years past, when I've been to auto shows or auto expos, I've been able to kind of look around the room and put my eye or my thumb on a trend, and I had difficulty doing that this year. In years past, I've maybe seen like. Manufacturers presenting hybrid, like every manufacturer has some new hybrid that they're trying to get out there. I've seen, technology things maybe they're trying to do. I couldn't honestly put my thumb on a single trend that I saw like everyone kind of chasing this time around.
Really?
Yeah. The only thing that honestly like really jumped out to me was color palettes. Like there were some of these sort of like cementy grays, cementy, like I don't even know how to subdued blues and grays and greens and all sort of that sort of color palette. That was a thing. That was a trend. That was the only thing, honestly, that I could like say like, okay, this must be a taste that's popular right now.
Yeah, and I feel like you're seeing that across all brands. Anywhere from like Toyota, who has like my truck is the cement color, to like Porsche 911s now.
Yep.
Are using that color.
Yeah,
so,
luxury and everything, luxury budget, everything in between had that sort of thing going on. So it was difficult really for me to say. It was really difficult for me to find something actually to kind of get excited about. Like I know maybe that sounds. I don't know, maybe that sounds judgy or shitty or weird. I don't know what that sounds like. I don't really care. But it just wasn't, there wasn't a ton that I got like kind of was like, yeah, this is great,
There weren't any electric cars that kind of tickled your fancy?
Not really, partially because we are in Utah and because of the way the laws are here and the way the sort of the emissions laws are here, we don't get a lot of we're not on the short list for states where manufacturers are going to send a new electric car. It's usually like coastal states and a couple of the ones that follow the CARB, the California Air Resources Board guidelines, right? Utah's not one of those states.
Utah, you might want to consider that because you have a bit of a pollution problem.
Yeah, the air quality is not great in Salt Lake. So there were, I even asked some of the reps that were there. I was like, what about I get them confused. I believe it's the Kia Kona and then the Hyundai, what is it?
The Niro?
No. Well, that's another one.
Okay.
But anyway, it's like the Kia and the Hyundai are like they're
sister cars.
Yeah. Exactly. And they're both bringing an electric version. And I said, what's up? Do you have one here? And they said we don't even have a technician that could service it. Even if we did have it, like we're not going to send some like our one technician or whatever to get trained. We're not going to spend the money on it because we're not selling them here.
Yeah.
I did learn a little bit later that the Kia version of their electric cars, they won't even let you, if you live in Utah, for example, they will not even let you order one. Can't do it. Hyundai will at least let you order one. Now, if you have to get it serviced, that's going to be a different kettle of fish. But
wow.
Yeah, so there weren't even the electric exciting things. The Utah Auto Expo is not someplace big enough for the Rivian to drive in and debut their,
exactly.
to show off their vehicle. Some of the things that I'm kind of excited about automotively now are things that have more recent news, the things that are upcoming rather than things that I saw at the show.
Give me an example of something that...
So something that recently dropped that I was kind of excited about was the Mazda 3. Okay, that's been a redesign. I don't know if you call it a refresh. I think it's actually a full-on redesign.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Of the Mazda 3 in both hatchback and sedan form. Interestingly, all-wheel drive will be offered.
Wow.
And, of course, then the follow-up question from all the journalists is, will it get a manual, too? That'd be great for sort of an enthusiast driving perspective. And they didn't say no. They sort of gave one of those kind of guarded, like, we'll get to it kind of thing. So there's a lot of, there's some speculation, and I think maybe it's just whether it's, let's hope it's not false hope, but there's hope towards getting a manual version of that, the Mazda 3. I like the Mazda 3. The C-pillar is large, and I could see how it could be off-putting, but I really like the lines of it. I really do.
I like that they're taking chances with that, and that's one thing I have to really applaud Mazda about is like their design language right now is unique.
It is. Yeah, I think it's great.
It's not the blasé like you see in a lot of other car companies that just they all look the same.
Right.
And and Mazda has come so far in their fit and finish and their interior quality.
Definitely.
Yeah, so obviously we're fans of Mazda.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mazda, you had a chance to talk to somebody in regards to one of your obsessions there at the car show, and you got to sit in one. I'm talking about the Miata. You puzzled.
I was puzzled. I forgot.
You were super pumped when you found out that being a taller gentleman that you fit in that thing. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think maybe a couple of years ago I sat in, was it the Fiat, what's the sister cars? The Fiat, the 124? What the hell is that thing?
I don't know.
Whatever the Fiat thing is. And I was like, oh, still don't fit. And I assumed that I didn't fit in the current generation of Miata. Guess what?
You fit.
I fit. I totally can fit in an ND Miata. So that's been, the 2019 they boosted it a few more horsepower, and they also, interestingly, for the first time, the Miata will be offered with a tilt and telescopic wheel.
Ooh.
That has never been offered on a Miata before.
Wow.
So, if you need to adjust the wheel a little bit to get a little bit more comfortable driving position, you can now do that.
You have the ability to do
that. You do have the ability.
So I just have a feeling that this car is going to land in your garage at some point.
Maybe. I did spend some time on the forums then, like, thinking about, asking, or maybe not asking around, but reading old threads about tall drivers and which generations of the Miata I might fit into. Turns out the ND is not the only version. There may be some other options. But anyway, I got to do a little more investigation.
All right.
It could end up in... I could end up with one down the road at some point.
Again, we love the Mazda Miata.
Yeah.
Great car all around. Driver's car. Thank
you,
Mazda, for continuing to build cars that people love to drive. I was unable to go to that, but this last week the Chicago Auto Show went on, and I each day kind of follow along with Autoblog. They do a great job of kind of showing what's going on there, and I had friends who were like, "Oh, Toyota Tacoma, the new Toyota Tacoma," and it's like a mid-cycle refresh. I mean, it's
looks a lot like the old one.
There's not a lot that changed,
nope.
And I knew that's what was going to happen. A lot of trucks and SUVs at the Chicago Auto Show. There's one like feature that I'm kind of geeking out on. The Ram 1500 now has what's called, and I know GMC has this, but anyway, they have this multi-function tailgate, which is really cool. Like, a lot like the Honda Ridgeline, where you can drop it or you can swing it out. This one adds the feature to where it's a 60-40 split as well. So it can kind of open like barn doors.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is this the one that also folds down into stairs, or is that the GMC?
That's the GMC.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. This is, then there's a step kind of, little step up kind of integrated into the bumper, which is a little different, but I don't know. I mean, this is a cool design feature that I guarantee you in like 5 years, like every truck will have this.
Yeah.
Because
probably.
why wouldn't they? I mean, the biggest selling point to this, or one of the things they talk about, is that, a forklift could come, you could open these and the forklift could come to where it's not going to potentially like put the weight on the tailgate itself.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And, it looks like a good design. It looks like, like there's a picture of a dude where he's like getting wood out of the back, and You know, what's nice is like, you know, normally you're going to lean, you know, you got to lean way in, grab whatever it is, where this, if you open it up as the barn door, it's right there at the edge of the bed, you know, which I think is, I mean, you know, for people who enjoy overlanding, as you know, I love to use that word. I have a fridge in the bed of my truck, and you know that's wired into my, you know, yeah. You look perplexed, but
In the bed of your truck?
in the bed of my truck
Right now you have a fridge out there?
It's not there when I'm not using it, but like when I go on overlanding trips.
Stop saying that word.
It's in the bed of my truck. It's wired. There's a wire that runs from my battery along the frame rails into the bed of my truck so that it's on all the time. So my beverages, food, everything stays a perfect 37 degrees. But yeah, the nuisance with this, say goodbye to ice. But anyway, the nuisance is though when I get someplace.
Really roughing it out there, definitely.
Yes.
You're definitely tested by the elements.
When I get someplace, you know, it's like it's further in, and I have to kind of, you know, I'm a short dude, you know.
Pull
with
out
this,
your cheese plate. Yeah, it's tough.
Yes, got to have the cheese plate when you're overlanding.
Yeah.
So anyway,
nothing like driving 250 miles into the desert
to have a cheese
to
plate.
have cold cuts.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing? Come on.
So
Pack a cooler with ice. I'm sorry. I'm going to make fun of you for a minute for that. Pack a cooler with ice and then like shoot some wild game and then, I don't know, eat some sagebrush or something for fiber.
I'm going to have my fridge.
All right, fine.
My chilled without it dripping all over the place. Yeah, anyway. So that's the Chicago Auto Show. I mean, there was, you know, I don't know, little bits here and there. Nothing totally blew me away. But that that Ram, I'm never going to be able to say Ram just by itself. Was a Dodge Ram, you know. Nothing else really like, you know, blew me away on that one. So that's our latest automotive news.
Yeah, and thanks. We wanted to say thank you, give a quick thank you to the Motor Trend folks who got us some passes for the auto show here in Salt Lake. So shout out to them.
Shout out to
that.
Motor Trend. We get a lot of our automotive fixes from you as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't see you. You're invisible.
Yeah, why what am I in? What makes me invisible?
The car that you're sitting in.
Oh.
So this is a new segment we like to call Invisible Brands.
Yeah, I like it. I like this segment.
Yeah. I don't know if this will happen again because I don't think we have a huge long list of this.
No.
You know, but
you never know. New segments are popular around here.
Yes. We've talked about this from the get-go, like cars that we don't really have like a bias against them. We just don't understand the appeal or the type of buyer. I mean, certain cars you can stereotype the people. We've done lots of stereotypes in our other episodes. But like then there's cars that you're sort of like, I can't even name one of those.
Yeah, like who buys it? Like
who buys that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like who thinks like, oh, my next car's got to be this, you know? So one of my brands, which I'm honestly surprised they're still in business in this country, is Mitsubishi.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
it's one of my invisible brands too.
You know, they had a couple of cars there. You know, the Evo, that was.
Yeah, the Lancers were probably the most popular.
Yeah, I mean,
there.
during those rally, you know, when it was that and the WRX, those things were, you know, they were popular. They're still popular on the used market. You know, I mean,
and for as invisible as the Mitsubishi was, Sam, you owned one for a period of time, didn't you?
Yeah, did not love my Evo.
You owned an Evo.
Yes, I did, but now it's like name one Mitsubishi.
The Outlander, and it's the only one I can name because I saw one today, and I was like, "Huh,
yeah.
There's a Mitsubishi Outlander."
Yeah,
like it was just remarkable because I was like, "That's not a thing that I would even notice normally."
Yeah, so that's one that you're like when people cross shop cars. You know, people are asking me, you know, hey, I'm thinking about getting a crossover or a new SUV, and you know, you kind of go through like, okay, what are you looking for? Fuel economy, safety, da 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 da. That car never lands on my list of like, you should go check this out.
No, me neither. Yeah.
You know, and part is I don't have a lot of faith that they will be here for the long term.
Yeah, but in other parts of the world. they are more popular. I think there's they have a fairly substantial commercial like truck van segment, I believe, mostly through Asia. They're partnered with Isuzu, right?
Yes.
And it's Isuzu, Mitsubishi, and what's the third one? I think that's, maybe we'll have to consult the Googles here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's just one that I'm always like, yeah, who buys that? Like who, and I was driving by a dealership, and the majority of the cars they had on their front row were not Mitsubishis.
Really?
And I'm talking about a Mitsubishi dealer. Like, I was just baffled by, like, wouldn't you put your brand new eye candy right out front?
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, it would sort of be like if you were like a Nike store and you had Adidas like in the window. Why would you do that? It was so bizarre to me.
Yeah. So I think I've just kind of Googled it just to loop back there. It's mostly Isuzu and Mitsubishi together. I do not see a third shareholder that I'm not, at least not that I'm able to find real quick there in my search. But anyway, yeah, they seem to be one that's more popular in other parts of the world than they are in the United States. So maybe it's invisible to us because of its market penetration in the United States.
Yeah.
Another one that's kind of invisible to me, at least, from a luxury standpoint, is Jaguar. Like, I know people own them, I know people drive them, but I guess maybe I don't notice them, or like when I see them, I'm just, it's not something I think about or like aspire to own even, or, if I had like Jaguar money, like I wouldn't buy a Jaguar.
Yeah.
I couldn't, I think they're probably perfectly fine cars. I couldn't put a reason on.
Yeah.
Precisely why I wouldn't buy one. I just wouldn't buy one.
Yeah. There's just nothing that that stands out to you about it.
Right.
There's, I would say the XKE or the XF. Anyway, see, I can't even tell you the name of it.
Yeah, I can't either.
But their coupe, it's attractive. But I can't tell you JK, LB, R42. I can't tell you the name of it.
Yeah,
you know. It's not as easily identifiable as like, oh, there's a Porsche Boxster. You know?
Right.
Yeah. So another one for me, again, another Japanese manufacturer is Acura.
Okay.
So like Acura, again, like they're nice looking cars, and you know the fit and finish is like what you expect, and their reliability is supposed to be like through the roof. As
Honda's,
Yeah. And yet, like,
it's tarted up Honda, basically.
I don't really have any. Yeah, like why would I not just get the Accord as opposed to whatever sister car they make? Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of related to that, when I sat in the Acuras at the auto show recently, there's just something, it didn't grab me. I got in the car and it was like, it's nice, the fit and finish is good, it's a nice car, but like it didn't make me feel anything, which maybe sounds kind of goofy and maybe a little wishy-washy, but be that as it may, it just didn't grab me in the same way as when I sat in like an Audi, basically, that was at the same price point. I got one of those and I was like, oh, this is like, I just, it was kind of like, I kind of got excited about the car.
The passion wasn't there.
Yeah. And that is, I think, different for everybody. I'm not saying that people who get that feeling from Acuras are wrong or anything. It's just a personal feeling, I guess, So yeah, I'm kind of with you. The Acuras are another one, and I think we were both in agreement about another one of those sort of luxury versions, which is the Infiniti, right?
Yeah.
Which is made by Nissan, and those are ones that I just don't ever really even consider necessarily either.
Yeah, I can't tell you one of their models.
Yeah, they used to all start with Q. I know that, which made it super confusing.
Yeah.
And then I think they no longer call it the Q this, the Q that. Now, I don't know. They all have letters. I know that.
Yeah.
But I don't know one from the other.
So it's just an interesting. How did these companies stay in business? Like, how?
Well, they have some. There's some percentage, obviously, of the car buying population that looks at them and that appeals to them, and they probably, I think maybe those people are looking at things that might make us go like woohoo, and just they feel nothing with those. Different strokes for different folks, or takes all types to fill the freeway. There's a car analogy. There's the one we want to use. Takes all types to fill the freeway.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, these are invisible to us on the freeway.
Yeah, I never see them.
Yeah.
Not literally. I see them. I'm not going to hit you in your car if we're driving one of those. But
any other brands that stick out to you?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Here's
one. Those are the
Alfa Romeo.
Oh, No.
Now, granted, like they have the Stelvio, which is like journalists are bonkers about.
Yeah, there's one parked where I work now, and I see it every day, and I'm like, ooh, whose is that?
But why?
Well, I think I like it because it's like it's different. I like it because it's different. For one, It's like there's still like a uniqueness factor. You don't see a ton of alphas in the United States. Also, like, man, the Italians, they know how to make something pretty. You know,
it is pretty.
It's a pretty car. It's probably going to fall apart in like 3 miles, but boy, those 3 miles you'll feel good.
Yeah, I don't get it. It just, like you said, it's gorgeous, but it's invisible for the most part to me, in large part because I don't see that many of them.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So I think this pretty much wraps up our segment on invisible cars.
Okay, Sam, you pointed me towards a website earlier that I was not entirely familiar with.
Yeah, so I get emails. I'm not sure how I got on this list, but I'm Haggerty, sends me emails with their stories. And, Haggerty, they're sort of the authority of, like, vintage cars and
classic cars.
Classic, and kind of what the market's doing in regards to that, that world. So I got this one, and I thought it was kind of fascinating. And, with it being tax season and maybe some people are going to be, bringing home some more money, maybe you'd want to,
maybe you want to invest that money somewhere. You want to park it somewhere completely reliable, which is an investment car. It's always, I think it's guaranteed to go up, right? Cars, that's my understanding about financing cars. They're always guaranteed to go up in value. Is that how that works?
Terrible advice.
Okay, maybe I'll have to go reread some of the things.
Okay. So, they did 25 of the hottest collector cars in 2019. So, again, to our listeners, this is not financial advice.
Well, I mean,
do with it as you will.
Buy cars.
As I've always been told, though, like, you should buy a car because you love that car, not because you think it's going to appreciate in value. If you're going into it with that attitude,
you will almost always be wrong.
Yeah. If you go in with the neutral attitude of I'm going to drive the hell out of this thing and have a blast, and if at the end of the day it's still worth something, awesome.
Yeah.
If it turns out to be one of those cars that like skyrockets, awesome.
Yeah.
So some of these aren't really surprising, like the Ford Bronco. Like, well, duh. And I'm not talking like the O.J. Simpson one. I'm talking 1966 to 1977. That was classic boxy. Another one that I loved as a teenager was the 93 to 2002 Mazda RX-7.
Yeah, I liked those.
God, it's a gorgeous car.
I liked the RX-8s too. The styling was different, but I liked them.
I wasn't as big a fan. Here's one that's interesting. The 1993 to 1990 Ford SVT Lightning pickup truck. You ever driven one of those?
No, I haven't, but those had like a bonkers engine under the hood, didn't they? Weren't they like...
You would see your life flash before you every time you took off on that thing. It was a 351, which actually, this is kind of funny. It's only 240 horsepower, but you have to remember this is a truck that, like, it's a truck. It had no weight. Back then, it didn't have all the safety stuff, so quite a bit lighter. My father-in-law had one of those, and it was scary fast.
Yeah.
Scary fast. Let's go down the line. We got 74 to 83 Jeep Cherokee. That's a classic, You know
what else they have on there?
Oh.
They have an El Camino.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
I
dun.
love those cars. I do, honestly. It's like one of the only like American muscle sort of like that sort of, I don't know, that if I can paint a broad brush stroke of American muscle, it's one of those. It's the only one of those that I look at and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to own one of those. You know what I mean? Like they're in Los Angeles when I lived there, you used to see them a lot, like really taken care of ones with no rust, but like a lot of people would like, you could tell they'd spent like a lot of time and slammed and just beautiful. I loved them.
Definitely a part of car culture.
Yeah, definitely
in
a part
Southern
of
California.
For sure.
Right?
There was something about like you saw them maybe more there than you would see in most other parts of the country, I felt like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right.
And that's interesting too, because that one it attracts a pretty diverse kind of clientele. I don't clientele, that's not the right word, but
There's a wide range of appeal.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of had like the dude that like wanted like like kind of the redneck dude in the Midwest who wanted like kind of the fast, but I need more space back there kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the the Ute. It's the the Australians get the Utes. The Australians still get like El Caminos.
Yeah,
but they're like it says Vauxhall on it now or whatever. We don't get those. I would love it. Speaking of like call back to our will you come over and come play with us or whatever.
Yeah,
we need some Utes in this country. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Some Australian it's like a sedan, but it's got a bed. I just think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Remember this one? The 1992 to 1993 GMC Typhoon?
I do not remember that one.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, that one, it was awesome. It had these ground effects that, like, I'm surprised that those ground effects are still, like, holding on to any of those cars. Another one on this list, and again, like, I'd recommend you go to Haggerty and check this out if you want to see the full list. I'm kind of breezing through the ones that tickle my fancy a bit more than the others. Mm-hmm. But I have to point this one out. People, I'm going to warn you against this one, okay? Because I owned one of these. This is going to be sort of an aha moment for you. The 1990 to 1994 Volkswagen Corrado.
You owned a Corrado, huh?
That was probably the worst car I ever owned.
Really?
Yeah. Piece of junk. Yeah. Huh. I mean, like, the dash rattled, the exhaust went out, and like rather than just being able to replace like the muffler, it was like the whole exhaust.
Really?
It was a piece of junk. You know? Yeah. So I don't know, I've seen these a lot on Bring a Trailer recently. And
Corrados, really?
Corrados. Now, it was the Scirocco, and I think like those are probably becoming like unattainable now.
You see some of like the Mark II Golfs a lot, like on Bring a Trailer. But I don't even think of like I don't think of the Corrado at all.
Look on Bring a Trailer, you're going to see more of them. Yeah. So
weird.
I mean, I think Haggerty's on to something here. I mean, they're using this thing called Data. I don't know if you've heard of that. But,
no, I've not heard of that.
So,
but as I look over the list, some of these like it's hard to have a crystal ball and know it's going to go up in value. Some of these I'm like, come on, like that's already gone up in value, like to an absurd degree. Like the Supras are on here, the 93 to 98 Supra, like those are already selling for ridiculous money.
Yeah.
I think it'd be. I'd be interested in what cars are on the sort of the other end of the left side of the curve, so to speak, right now. But if you knew that, then
yeah, Well, I think one thing I take from this is like anytime they kind of reinvent a car or bring a car back out, the new Supra being an example, the new Bronco that's coming out, like the old ones become that much more desired.
Yeah.
So
true. Like look at the Jeep Cherokees, right? I mean, look how much like those original. I don't know, say the original, but the previous version, the XJ version of the Cherokees, right? Those are kind of going up in value these days, and I think maybe that's partially because the new ones just don't have the same. The new ones are very capable. They just don't have that same like appeal that those older boxier ones did.
No, they, yeah. So. If you got some coin and you want to throw it down on something,
a safe investment is always used cars.
So roll on over to Haggerty and check out some of their cars that they believe are just going to be on the up and up.
Definitely.
Thanks again for joining us. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, tell a friend, and follow us on Twitter. Have a good one, and until next time.